when I see people, if your instinctive reaction is to say, I will use an artificial intelligence tool or technology to start substituting my intellect, then of course we are all going to fall prey to this, and in the long run we are all dead. Look at it in terms of our ability to remember telephone numbers. I don't think any of us remember numbers today.
I started at a time when we wanted to argue interpretation of a statute. The standing instructions were go get the Gazette notification. Do not rely on the
private publications.
We were sent dispatch to the Supreme Court library, to the judges library, and to the High Court library for the unreported judgments, and we spent hours poring over those. Right? My younger colleagues are never going to do that, thankfully, from one perspective, because they have tools that make things more efficient.
Now there's even a threat that if the litigants or those who are the seekers of legal advice, they may start going to AI directly of their own, and where the legal profession is aimed at. And it is today talked insofar as America or many countries in Western countries are concerned, that many lawyers are becoming redundant.
Hi, this is Bhumika Indulia, and this is the second episode of Bar Bulletin's podcast series sponsored by Kakkar & Company. As we all know, AI is not just a tool anymore. It has become a decision maker, drafter, and also an advisor. From legal research to contract drafting and documentation, all things we are dependent on AI. So here's the big question. As we are making AI as a part of life, what happens to skills, responsibilities, and ethics? So in order to get answers of these questions, we have three eminent personalities with us. Justice A.K. Sikri, former judge of Supreme Court, and a leading voice on AI, ethics, and judicial innovation. Mr. Rajshekhar Rao, senior advocate who brings both courtroom experience and a deep understanding of legal risk posed by emerging technologies. Mr. Ameet Datta, one of India's foremost experts on intellectual property, technology law, and regulatory policy. So let's begin with our conversation, and I want to understand from each one of you, starting from you, Justice Sikri, how all of you are using AI as a part of your day-to-day life.
You see, I think, if I may say so, although a person of my age who is now stretched 70, and we are not like young generation who are using technology so much. But as I have seen and observed over a period of time, particularly, and for us also, now I'm including myself, post-COVID, how technology has become so important to use. Like when arbitration cases, mostly online when they are happening, and you are in digital world, and it's not only when this happens online, this arbitration cases, but then most of the filings are online, and you have you are in digital space, etc. So therefore it is almost, as I feel today, is indispensable, and if we are not using AI or technology, etc., then we are lagging behind. So you can't lag behind in whatever is your age. We may not be as competent as young generation today, but then it is used apart from, I'm not talking about digital world, etc., but for research normally I use it. And it's another very important thing in arbitration or other suppose I am writing a paper on some particular subject, etc. So you want to collate material, you may have say 20 articles, 30 articles on that. But then what these articles convey and in concise form, etc., if you use AI, so they are able to give you the gist of that entire thing, which is very, very helpful in 5 pages, 7 pages. Likewise, let me tell you that many times in our arbitration, the say written submissions are filed. Now, written submissions of both the parties may run into hundreds of pages. And likewise, documents are filed on a particular subject, maybe again running into thousands of pages. So therefore, to have a summary of what it contains and the gist of that, I use for that as well. Of course, as I'll let you know that ultimately, I mean, when it comes to award writing or judgment writing, we say it is still, I don't depend upon AI, but as a facilitator, I'm using AI there also. And another thing which I may tell you and which becomes very easy for whether it is AI or you say earlier it was Google, we used to seek every information from Google, but now AI is there. And like I am a director of a very big company. Now I'm not because of confidentiality I'm not saying, but then many times when the discussion is taking place and you are in a commercial world and therefore and it's a company which is having I mean is in a field which is very technical in nature. So many times on this presumption that we know everything, so during discussion the abbreviations are used. So immediately I'll go to and sitting on that and have Chat GPT on my phone. So I'll by the time it is discussed, I'll see what it is and I will not ask them. So that I should not feel myself embarrassed in asking that I don't even know that. So I'm now here telling you very frankly. So many times I use this, and by the time it is discussed, within 1 second or within 5 seconds, I'll see what it is about and what is being discussed. So these are some of the aspects.
It is saving our embarrassment situations. Absolutely. What about you, Ameet? How you are using AI in a day-to-day life?
Yeah, I think for law firms it becomes slightly, if not complicated, more nuanced because there's a privilege and confidentiality issue with a lot of clients, and you know, you have to be very careful about how much of the privileged documentation, internal documentation is sort of exposed to AI. So there are two main buckets that I kind of apply AI on. One, I use tools within my firm. I use tools for trademark searching, you know, comparing illustrative logos, etc. And AI is fantastic. So there are a lot of those tools have already been applied. In fact, the Government of India, DPIIT, has an AI-based tool for searching now available on as a tool on the trademark website. So that's something where there's a legitimate sort of deployment of AI. And as Justice Sikri said, summarization is something that AI is very good at in terms of opposite side pleadings, or I primarily use it to look at very large papers, academic papers, to understand what parts of the papers are relevant, etc., to break down those papers, and also to look for counter narratives to certain elements and statements because of the amount of information that AI has been trained on. So it's fantastic for that. But I think as law firms go, there will be law firm ready, vetted, air-gapped AI tools where client confidentiality and privilege issues can be addressed adequately. And there are Indian law firms that have deployed tools like Harvey, etc., on the AI training and research side.
Okay.
So these are the two basically.
On the summarizing part, I will give you my example as well. But before that, I need to know, Raj, I know you don't use AI.
So I'm the outlier, and I'm somewhat embarrassed. But you know, somewhere along the way, I feel, and this is probably so I have colleagues who use AI. So in a sense, I indirectly use AI because I have colleagues who've taken to it like a fish take to water. Most of them use it for their own work. They use it for research and summarization. Unfortunately, I come from that school where I tell my interns that, you know, you will not look at the internet. We belong to a world where books were what we started with. And at least as far as I feel, while it's a tool, it has, in a sense, dumbed me down a little. The more technology I use, the more I feel my faculties are suffering. And in my head, I'm still finding that balance of being able to use technology to make my life easier while at the same time staying 2 steps ahead of the curve. So from that perspective, I took to, you know, online softwares, for instance. But artificial intelligence as a tool per se is something that I have, in the last 1 month, started getting accustomed to, if I may use the expression. Like I told you, I downloaded ChatGPT on my phone day before yesterday for the first time. I have steered clear. But I realized that if I don't start deploying, I am then struggling to catch up, what, as Ameet points out, a large article which I could actually get somebody to summarize for me. I depend on a colleague or I get a tool to do it. And it saves me a few hours of sleep, or it gives me those 2 extra hours to think about my matter. So from that perspective, I think it's one of those things where I feel I should start looking at it a little more objectively. My only fear, and that's the balance, and according to me, that's the constant conundrum that we will all have eventually going forward. How do we allow it to aid us to do much more and in a much better manner, while at the same time ensuring that if perchance tomorrow that product fails, I am not caught, with my pants down in that sense. That's really, so that's my take. But have I started using it? Yes. Do I really have the bandwidth to even speak about what it stands for? The answer is absolutely no.
So I have before starting with the thought of that I'm going to do this podcast, so I downloaded ChatGPT and I thought of asking for summarizing. So I uploaded a PDF of a case, and it was basically conviction, which was held. But AI tool basically gave me a result of acquittal. So now, if I was not reading the judgment, and if I would just have relied on the summarized part, then I'm completely going against what has been held. And that is the issue. So whether even the young generation, our reliance on AI it might be wrong, as you rightly pointed, that it might be wrong. But yeah, as Justice Sikri also mentioned, that if you're not using, you might lag behind.
Absolutely. And which is why I said I'm embarrassed that Justice Sikri is probably more tuned into automation than I am. But see, and that is why. So we always look at him and we learn. And like I was saying before we started, he's somebody who has always taught us somewhere along the way to stay ahead of the curve in a balanced manner. And my takeaway from this conversation is only going to be that. So thank you once again, sir, for guiding us and inspiring us in so many ways.
So Justice Sikri have often said that the humane in law is indispensable. And so how can India ensure that AI supports human empathy in justice delivery, and instead of basically replacing it? Because I think we all are moving towards replacing rather than taking it as an advantage.
You see, I think it's now a big debate which is going on, not only legal landscape in India, but worldwide, if I may say so. I am, international judge in this SICC, Singapore International Commercial Court. And we have normally, in the beginning of the year, every year, we have 2 days conference of international judges, so judges who are there come. And for last 3 or 4 years, every year, topic of AI is discussed in the judicial, decision making, etc. also, but introducing it in judiciary as well. And what I feel is, and I think as of now, at least, when I'm talking of judicial fraternity across the world, or so far as I know, that feeling is this, that look, and that is in India as well, and the Supreme Court, successive Chief Justices, etc. have also mentioned about that today we need AI, but AI should be a facilitator, and it can't replace the judicial decision making. And why I say so? First of all, why we need to introduce it, is that, you see, we are having today the problem of arrears, correct? There's so much of pendency of the cases is there. And so therefore, for this technology or the AI may be good for accessibility, it is there, for transparency. And as I said, that for case management in the court, for court management, it may be a big boost, or facilitator in that sense, that today suppose they are in the system of the identical nature, legal nature in Supreme Court, how many cases are pending. So if one case comes, I give you one example and then I'll tell you this, I'm deflecting a bit, but on the same aspect. I remember, and it is so far back in 2002, when I was sitting with the Chief Justice, Justice Sinha was the Chief Justice. One case we came across, it was, I think, no, not customs, but this some tax only. I mean, it was of indirect tax, some provision which were challenged, constitutional validity, etc. And it was way back in 80s. And there was one judgment which was given within 2-3 years only. A spate of writ petitions was filed, more than 100. And because in 80s, etc., particularly in India, there was not even computerization of the courts. So if it was filed, I'm just giving, I don't remember the exact date, suppose it was filed in 1981. So in 1983, the judgment came. But that judgment came in one case and 100 cases were still pending. So at that time, no grouping of the cases, nothing of that sort was happening. And in 2002, those cases come before us in their ordinary course, because when they, they are in the pipeline, also they become now ripe and they come. And we see, I saw that in almost 15 to 17 years ago, these cases were already decided. Of course, what we did, in 2 minutes, we decided by that time bunching had done and grouping had done, and therefore they could come in before us in group. Now, this is where many times the cases are pending because you don't know that you have decided this case and the similar issues are pending. So therefore, when we say for all these purposes, court management, case management and all, and case management, when I talk about this and court management, it has many other facets also, and AI can be a wonderful tool for all this. And it can reduce the areas to that extent. Another thing which I said, that look, which I am doing and judges can always do, big briefs, instead of reading all those briefs, from page to page, how much Supreme Court judge does. On maybe the miscellaneous matters are on Monday and Friday, but then Monday cases we are reading on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then Friday cases we start reading from Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. So almost the entire week for SLP reading, etc. it goes. Then you have to give judgments also, many other things. So therefore, if of course, our law clerks or legal researchers who are there, they will prepare some briefs, etc. for us. But then all this can be done by AI, and we do that. So, as a facilitator, very good for all these purposes. Now, with this coming today at the same time, so therefore, it should be introduced for bringing more efficiency also. In a way, it will bring much efficiency as well in the system, but it can't replace the court decision. First of all, you see, legal reasoning is one which can't be by the AI, at least at present. We don't know what happens in the future. There has been a debate on this. I tell you, it is said many times, it is said that, look, we talk of bias, that it may be the data which you feed and the data which it depends on that, but they will pick up the answer. It will pick up, like you gave the example, that judgment, although it was conviction and then AI says acquittal. So therefore, what kind of data which is there, and those who are doing that, it depends on them as well. So therefore, many times, and particularly when we come to humane touch, etc. So, but then the argument is, look, if they are giving biased result, whether human beings are free from bias? We as judges also have, so therefore how you say that, so this is the counter argument given, that why not AI does it. But at the same time, I would say that there are like one legal reasoning, as I have said. Now, say, take for example criminal cases. I give you again an example, because you wanted some anecdote should be given. So in that context, let me tell you one case came before me and how AI could have decided that case. It's a case where sexual harassment at workplace, correct? It was a private employer, private company, where she had filed a complaint, but she filed a criminal complaint, that under section 354, etc. of IPC and one or two more sections. Now, I was sitting in the High Court and the petition comes before me for quashing, that we have settled between ourselves, and she wanted to withdraw, and they were, because it was non-compoundable, so it could not be done by the magistrate, so it came for quashing. I had some suspicion that why she is asking for this. So I called her to the chamber. I said, is there any pressure on you? So you tell me very frankly. Now, what is the answer she gives? And it is that number one is that I have got another job now. Correct? I don't want my present employer to know that I have already filed a case against my ex-employer, because then he'll be, oh, she is like this, then he may not throw me out of job. Then I have got, now I am engaged. I am going to get married after 2 or 3 months. So I don't want my in-laws or my fiancé to come to know about it, because I don't know what they will think, in our society. So therefore I decided, okay, I'll give it a quietus, because 3 times I had gone to court to give my evidence. Evidence was not recorded. For one reason or the other, adjournment was given. So now, then I said that, look, if that's the only reason you still want to pursue the complaint, she says, according to me, I had filed a genuine complaint, because I asked this also. Maybe if you can tell me frankly, I will not take any action. If it was out of some vengeance you filed and you are now realizing, she says, no, sir, incident took place, and therefore I filed a genuine complaint, I want to pursue, but these are the reasons. I said, okay, your case is, I came to know that it was next month, it was coming before the court for evidence. I said that one day for some, excuse, and as you take this leave on that day, appear, and I ensure that your evidence is recorded, which is 2 or 3 months your marriage is away. So she said, I am fine with that. Now, can AI achieve this? Can never achieve this. So this is what humane angle you say.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Raj, Justice Sikri just mentioned that it is a facilitator, right? It is helping us. But do you think we are becoming more dependent on it, and it might cause us a lot?
Okay, so 2 ways of looking at it, right? I think it's always about how you treat a gift that is given to you. So I treat AI as a gift. I treat technology as a gift. If we didn't have aeroplanes, we'd still be taking ships to travel, to across the seas. Has that made our life easier? So we have cars today, we drive, but most of us have forgotten how to walk and run, right? So I think it's really a function of how you approach it. It makes your life easy. Does it make your life so easy that at some point in time, you realize that it's doing all the work and you're really not applying, and you are, for all practical purposes, only then a post office.
Right.
The beauty of this profession is, as Justice Sikri points out, it's all about the individual. The individual is the centerpiece of the Constitution. Every citizen, every individual has a right that is guaranteed. The legal system is therefore founded on, and that's where we are different. There's been this constant debate on, should we just have written briefs, and to a large extent, oral arguments must be minimized. And I was just taking a cue from what Justice Sikri was saying. You have that one case where everything is so balanced. More often than not, what tilts is advocacy inside a courtroom. You are now deciding to sentence somebody. The accused is standing in front of you. A judge will see demeanor. Is there real remorse? Is there, in fact, an understanding that I have done something wrong? And the difference between a nod, a look down, or a staring at the judge is a difference between 7 years and 3 years. Or as Sir says, I could actually let you go by giving you a sentence only because I have to. So from that perspective, I think, when I see people, if your instinctive reaction is to say, I will use an artificial intelligence tool or technology to start substituting my intellect, then of course we are all going to fall prey to this, and in the long run we are all dead. Look at it in terms of our ability to remember telephone numbers. Right. I don't think any of us remember numbers today, right? Why? Because we don't feel the need to do it. And we are all people who used to remember numbers. I remember numbers that my telephone number of when I was 4 years old. I don't remember half the numbers of people that I work with on a daily basis. If I lose my phone tomorrow or I don't have access to that, I have no means of calling them. So I think it's a function of really being alive to the fact that, as Justice Sikri says, it's a facilitator. Use it to hone your skills. But remember, there is always the possibility that your laptop may shut down. You may lose your phone. Right? Google Maps may not work, and you will still have to find your way around. This landscape is about a lawyer who today probably has to work much harder because he has to deal with technology which will give him answers, but there are chances that sometimes those answers may not be right. We have instances where judicial notice has been taken of fake cases being generated by artificial intelligence and people producing them.
Absolutely.
We have instances of a client sitting inside a courtroom having his virtual image appearing electronically in the United States.
Yes.
So we are at that space, and which is why somewhere along the way, I think, and this has to start from the beginning for a lot of us, whether you're in school and you're being exposed to AI for the first time, you have to be taught first distinguish between tools which have stood at least basic quality checks. There are 50,000 softwares in the world. There's this beautiful book, sir, that somebody gave me called AI Snake Oil. And it is essentially how snake oil used to be peddled as, the answer to all the world's ills. Today, there are 50,000 softwares which operate under the garb of AI, but are probably not worth the code that they are written on. But yes, there are tools that have been tested. They are being reinforced. And if you are able to identify the right tools, use them for the right purposes. And at the end of the day, still remember, and since we are in a professional setting as lawyers, that the buck still stops with you, the individual lawyer. If you lose yourself in the process of this business of technology, then at some point everybody loses. But if you are able to enhance your skill set using that tool, then of course I think you can make a yeoman service, you can do a yeoman service to the system and to yourself. Use it to work smarter, use it to work harder, but at the same time, remember that at the end of the day, it is still about the human being that is you, the lawyer. And it is you that the client comes to. He doesn't come to you for your software.
So you have already given a half answer to my other question also, but still I'm asking this, that AI platforms are now dominating legal research, news media and other. So how would you deal with that? Will everything shut and only this will work?
No, I think it's a necessary evil. See, there is a profusion of information. As Justice Sikri says, an 83 judgment. At that point in time, you had to rely on it to be first published in a journal. You had to have the ability of a lawyer to have identified that in a journal and to have read it, which is why all our seniors used to tell us the one thing that you would do is get the journal, every copy of the journal, you will read that journal from cover to cover, or at the very least apply your mind and look at the subject index to know what's relevant. And each lawyer of yesteryears used to have this little diary. Right? Most of us don't have diaries anymore. We rely on a simple search on our online platform. But again, like I said, there are tools and there are tools. Not every tool works for every lawyer. As Ameet points out, Harvey may work for a big organization. Maybe you don't need a Harvey. Can you use Jurisphere? But don't fall down that trap of using a general software which is not aimed at legal research, which is not aimed at probably domestic Indian research, right? So not all of us need to use a Westlaw to be able to deliver in a courtroom. Manu Patra, for instance, I am told is now using AI, very efficiently. And a lot of them have realized that that's it. But somewhere along the way, you will still get that little disclaimer somewhere at the bottom to say, please check the accuracy of your results. And if you miss that little point somewhere and you don't verify, at the end of the day, because you can keep doing research, ultimately what you put inside a courtroom, and that is where all of us are responsible as lawyers. Yesterday, for instance, I was told by a judge, Mr. Rao, that note you will see. So we are in a space where two human beings are working, but I am still told you will look at it yourself. So can I then just leave it to a machine and say, you've looked at it and therefore I have? We are not substitutable. I think that's the bottom line. But yes, we have too many tools to help us, and the more we use them wisely, I think the easier our life becomes.
Great. Thank you so much for putting it such a nice manner.
So just to give you one example, sorry. I was doing an internal Zoom call, and I was trying to tell a colleague of mine the facts of the case. So I said, my account has been hacked. And next morning, I get a transcript of my Zoom call which says Rajshekhar Rao's account was hacked. Right? So the tool can't tell the difference between me when I am talking about my client and stepping into my client's shoes and myself. So today there is an electronic record somewhere of Rajshekhar Rao's account being hacked, and Rajshekhar Rao was telling the facts of a case to his colleague. So that's the subtle difference. And that's where, as Sir says, that difference about, whether I'm talking about myself, am I talking in the third person? These are tools that I think AI has a long way to go. So as far as I'm concerned, at least, probably we'll see it in our lifetime, but not in the next decade. I think we still have, in the 5-10 year window, perhaps there will be a quantum leap. But as things stand, there is no way we are replaceable.
But Mr. Rao, there I may differ with you. At the speed, at such a fast-paced technology, is undergoing change developments, and particularly AI.
Yes.
You never know what you are banking upon
Today is
tomorrow
obsolete,
become
day after.
obsolete. And you never know. The 10 years is you are so. You are giving them very big time.
That's why I therefore quickly retracted to 5.
Find within few months something or the other. That's why I said that I was very careful that as of now,
Absolutely,
as of today,
absolutely. In fact,
you never know what is
happening day
happen
after.
tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Amit, coming to you, that lot of students, young generation are going to AI generated content. What are the copyright issues we might face, and what all things, how we can actually handle this situation? Because thought leadership content is being generated through AI, and we are relying completely. And as Raj mentioned also, that fake case laws are being cited. So what is your thought on it?
There used to be that old adage, trust but verify. With AI, I think the adage has to be changed a little bit. Don't trust and verify. And that's required. And just by an illustration, I think about 4-5 days ago, I had the IP chapter of the UK India FTA. And I needed to get a short sort of update out for a newsletter. And I uploaded it and I said, summarize what India has agreed to, what concessions has it granted, what concessions had it secured on the intellectual property side, and I said divide it into substantive law concessions, procedural, technical framework, legal framework concessions, new legislation. So it gave me a very nice, very, very useful comparison and analysis. But what it also did was it says that in many portions, including one specific portion that I'll tell you about, it said that India has undertaken to create legal provisions in the Copyright Act for artist resale right. And which I immediately knew was incorrect, because we've had our artist resale right provision since 1984. So I said, you're wrong. India already has that provision. And he said, yes, you're right. I was wrong. Here's the updated one. So I said, no, explain yourself. Why were you wrong? He said, probably had to do with my training data. Right. Now, everybody knows that AI is trained on reams and reams of information, often duplicative information. And when you duplicate information, plus with that other adage of garbage in, garbage out, AI is prone to hallucinations. And when it's prone to hallucinations, it will put out information that it either from a pattern analysis thinks you want to hear, or it needs to provide because its programming says, look, at the end of the day, the algorithm says you're here to provide information. So when it has gaps, it will construct information as well. And that's where all these illustrated cases or false cases, non-existent, etc., etc. So I think the one aspect is this verification and trust issue, right? A lot of this flows out of the fact that AI systems are largely black boxes. You don't know what goes into them, right? There was a recent Meta versus Cadre case where it was found that Meta had downloaded books from 7 million books or 8 million books from online repositories called Books 1, 2, and 3. These are those are pirated books. Those are downloaded, ingested, and made ready, right? And so that was the basis of that information. Now, so there are two ways to come at it. One is from an innovation perspective and an R&D and technology change perspective, that something breaks for something new, right? You have to break a couple of eggs to create something, to create an omelette, I guess. That's one perspective to look. The other perspective is there is a replacement eventually. It might be lowbrow right now. It might be pedestrian in terms of creativity, for instance. Give me a Javed Akhtar style lyric or song. It will use the words it does pattern analysis, but from a creativity perspective, you know that this cannot be the creativity of a Gulzar Saab or a Javed Saab. So it's pedestrian. So at this point of time, it's not a direct substitution, but it does serve the same purpose that human creators serve, right? You can ask for a book in the style of Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings or Treasure Island, and it will give you a fantastic pedestrian, sort of document in the same style. And style, copyright in style is obviously a question that has never been answered conclusively. So it will give you that. But it is trained on human expression. And that's the sort of rub of the question, whether AI actually utilizes non-protectable content and data in order to be trained in pattern analysis, or does it have to ingest actual protectable, copyright protectable expression in order to be able to function as AI? And that's the factual question. Now this factual question turns on, I don't know what's gone into their system.
Right.
And so how am I to say, right? And how exactly is it stored, what the correlations are. The algorithm is not open. So a lot of the litigation, I feel, is going on conjecture right now around the world. In the US, there's some level of discovery, etc. But in other parts of the world, you are looking at systems as they function. We are reliant on a lot of scientific, academic papers or people who studied AI systems. And what research suggests is AI systems certainly ingest copyright content. That's a consensus. Even the AI companies don't deny that. Is the content retained within the AI model? Like Justice Sikri's iPad, does it retain a PDF? You know, the PDF is visual, it's perceivable, but at the back end, it's stored in code, ones and zeros, right? In one file though. AI systems don't work like that because each word in a book is converted into a token. They are vectorized and they're correlated to what are called parameters. They are weights given. And so it's like tuning a radio, right? So when you tune the radio, you get a clearer signal. And so these parameters and the weights determine the contextual relationship between words, right? So it was the best of days or the worst of days as a starting from a famous book, and AI will finish that for you. And why will it finish that for you? Because it has access to the original creative expression. And that's how it will finish. So if it does that, the copyright question, and the most interesting question for me as a copyright lawyer is, if it's desegregated, encrypted and spread all over the place, is a copy of the original copyrighted work still stored within the AI system across billions of tokens?
Right.
And billions of parameters. And these parameters provide the context. And older case law used to be, judges around the world have said, it doesn't matter to us what form it's stored in an electronic form, as long as it's perceivable to human beings as a copy. So here we come to the other side of AI, the output side. And that's where research again suggests that AI memorizes because it is capable of regurgitation. It regurgitates verbatim, near verbatim copies of copyrighted content. When that happens, the suggestion is it could only regurgitate what is within it and what it was trained on. Right? So that the causal connection is clear. The response normally is that this is a glitch. This is not something, and I agree, it's not a glitch, but it's certainly not what perhaps AI was intended to do, but it does that. And really AI can't function without retaining some aspect of human creative expression, hence protectable expression, right? So that is the vexing question that courts are dealing with. And I think effectively a lot will turn on, irrespective of this, whether it retains, is this fair use or fair dealing, and hence excluded from the scope of infringement, etc. Right? And within that construct will come, what's the market harm? What's the dilution for the original work or the original copyright owner? Is there substitution? Is this commercial use? Is it fair dealing from the construct of the entire work taken? So all of these questions will have to be decided. And interestingly, in the Meta case, the judge who held in favor of Meta said, and I jokingly, kind of, in a lighter tone, I say it's a lot like how we describe our Indian cricket team. There are sometimes the Indian cricket team wins not because it was good, because the other team was worse. So the judge, Justice Chabria, Vince Chabria, actually said in the California District Court, he's a Southern District, he said, look, the plaintiff didn't make the case. But I highly doubt that the use of copyrighted works for training AI is fair use in the US. He's a district judge though. And he said, particularly say for news, this market substitution, market harm is apparent. It's very real. And another plaintiff, if they bring a better case on market harm and market dilution, might as well as win the case. So, the jury is open right now, but there are clear copyright constructs here from an infringement perspective and whether, the exceptions apply.
See, 1 minute, sorry, I may not forget when he was saying, and in such a, I would say that a lovely discourse which he has given. So see, the question which you asked about the judicial function, etc. Now here are the legal issues arising out of the use of AI. Who is deciding? Not AI.
Correct.
Ultimately, these have to be decided by human beings.
Absolutely.
About AI. So I hope that when the judgment of Californian court was given, by arriving at a distinct conclusion, he did not use AI. And then what is the answer of AI and then deciding?
Interestingly,
so this is again interesting. Yeah. So ultimately, it is the human angle which comes when it comes to decision making. I only wanted to add that from.
I was in a conference recently, and Justice Pratibha Singh was doing the keynote, and she revealed, in fact, Justice Bus of the UK Chancery Division Courts actually revealed that in a recent judgment that he delivered, one paragraph was entirely constructed by AI. And that paragraph was not consequential to the judgment. It was on the state of law in, I think, another jurisdiction or whatever. And it was a huge document. And he, kind of got a summary.
On
he said, I verified it. But he openly said, we plugged it into my judgment. This is the state of law. But it didn't impact, it was not the judicial interpretation and the assessment part.
No, on hallucination, which you said AI, actually there are few judgments which have come by foreign courts, and I think one by some Indian court also, where the court used AI and it said about this, reasoning which is given, legal reasoning, citing one judgment which was never there. The court never pronounced any such judgment. So that is what we call AI hallucination. So sometimes they also go into hallucination, and they from there, and what a kind of data which is fed, etc., or what are the source material on the basis of which they are working. So sometimes AI also thinks that it may have happened. So they generate something which never happened on that basis. Right. And that's why I tell you, Kerala High Court has given a mandate to district judiciary not to use it.
Also, I need to understand, Ameet, are there tools which have come who will find out that there are this particular thing is AI generated?
Oh yes. In fact, not only tools. For instance, I know that the content industry, music, film, they're working on a technical standard called, I think, C2PA or whatever, which will be able to, and this is the biggest problem in the music industry. You see, now, because copyright societies, music is exploited, it is recorded, digital platforms, there are 3 billion lines of data which are given to copyright societies, for instance, every 2 months or 3 months. And that has to be matched against the copyright society's register of works that the members have created. So claim matching has to be done. And then there are works which, I call them AI ghosts. So they are AI generated works. Now, AI generated work could have lyrics created by AI, but the music created by human being, or lyric and music created by human being, right? So this C2PA standard allows content companies to understand what is the level of AI influence in a piece of content. So this is just one of the standards. So there are tools. We started with plagiarism tools and now AI tools. In fact, my team has started using one for our younger people who are interning, etc., when they're asked to give research notes. I find 85 to 90% of those notes are AI generated. And so it's not from a question of trying to catch people, but it's an interesting social construct. My daughter's 14 years old. She's more technology savvy. She can make videos, she can edit videos, and she can publish videos on her own, sitting alone. I can't even begin to approach the concept of putting together a short video to upload on a social media platform on my own. If I find a video pre-existing, I might use that to upload. But to create a video is not possible. So it's not AI as a technology tool that worries me, or the fact that we will dumb ourselves down. I started at a time when we wanted to argue interpretation of a statute. The standing instructions were go get the Gazette notification. Do not rely on
private publications.
We were sent dispatch to the Supreme Court library, to the judges library, and to the High Court library for the unreported judgments, and we spent hours poring over those. Right? My younger colleagues are never going to do that, thankfully, from one perspective, because they have tools that make things more efficient. Right? So, a donkey taking stuff to the market and a Tata Ace taking stuff to the market, it's a no-brainer when you realize what the efficiencies are. But at the same time, the question is, we are entering a world of certainty from a world of certainty into uncertainty, because information is capable of rapidly being manipulated. And AI, more so, equally as a helpful tool, it is a tool of manipulation. Image manipulation, text manipulation, video manipulation, sound manipulation, everything. And in the recent India-Pakistan conflict, there were telephone calls which were being circulated, which were AI generated. And they have traction. It's not like people are dumb, but it's because they have traction, because they're sensational. And so from that perspective, for me, the concern is more, don't trust but verify should be the standard rule where AI tools are concerned. And that let's be honest, that rule applied for news media even when newsprint was a part of that. It was always verify.
So, due to time constraints, I'm going to put my last question, and I'm going to I'm basically taking a very nice point which you have mentioned, that after cars came, we stopped walking. Even if we are going to the gyms, we are taking our cars to go to the gym. So, what is the future of AI in law after 5 years, Mr. Sikri?
No, future of law, again, it would depend upon what we have discussed. There is as far as legal research is concerned, no doubt about it, we are going to depend more and more on that. To that extent, there is no doubt about it. We are lawyers, etc. also, and now there is even a threat that if the litigants or those who are the seekers of legal advice, they may start going to AI directly of their own, and where the legal profession is aimed at. And it is today talked, insofar as America or many countries in Western countries are concerned, that many lawyers are becoming redundant. And so therefore that is one thing. But then, as far as legal research is concerned, whether it is done by the lawyers or it is done by the litigants of their own, particularly when it comes to the stage of advice, at least if I have to go to whether I have got a good case or not, I go to lawyer and find out. So many would say that let me try to do it myself from the AI, and then if I need a lawyer, I'll go to. So to that extent, advisory work, etc. So as far as legal profession is concerned, it is going to be dependent upon the AI more and more. It would be more reliant. Insofar as this judiciary is concerned, then as I say that again, it is said and openly everybody is saying, and rightly so, even the government is supporting, we should have AI. But as of today, that AI is only facilitator. Whether it should substitute, it not going to in the next 5 years, there's impossibility that is going to substitute the judges for that, and not even would be close to that. But yes, to what extent judges would become more reliant upon even in writing their judgments, that is something to be seen. That would depend upon what kind of technology we see tomorrow or way AI progresses. As Amit has said, that it has already reached its pinnacle and saturation stage. Now it's only from a different angle, it is now being worked out. So that it all depends on that.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Ameet, after 5 years, what will happen?
Well, I think at least I see my life very different with where AI is concerned. It's for me personally, see the industry I work, even the content industry, it's a remarkable tool for democratization in terms of cost of production. The examples like Disney, for instance, used to spend millions of dollars per episode. It spent a few thousands of dollars per episode on the new Star Wars iterations it's done. And now you take that to small media houses, small advertising houses, small content creation houses. They don't need to spend that much. They can have access the market so much more easier, quicker, cheaper. So it's a tool for democratization. One. Second, it will be a remarkable tool. At some level, it will be a remarkable tool to create misinformation and to catch misinformation. Double-edged sword, right? It will be a remarkable tool for service delivery on the government side. I mean, one of the things I was talking to a government officer about was, I said, imagine in a primary healthcare center, you've got an AI-driven box with 5 sensors that can take pulse, temperature, iris scan. And in a primary healthcare center where doctors who are contracted to go there who don't go there, right? With a box that can actually sort out, you only need this medicine, or you need to be referred to the district hospital. So there are real world examples of how AI will manifestly make in countries like India, like say UPI did and direct benefit transfer did in real terms, right? In real terms, the ability to reach the citizen. And AI will massively facilitate that. It is already doing that in many respects. Government procurement, it can pluck out bids, tenders. You have the government's eGem portal. It can pluck out suspicious bids, bids that are not correlated with net worth. It can do all of that and can do things that human beings can't do in terms of a cross-correlation of data, right? So there are real-world examples where AI, so I don't want to kind of, be, in the sense that, it's theek hai, chalta hai. I started my career and I saw my seniors, Mr. Anand, all of them, they would dictate entire planes, right? And you had stenographers. The stenographers have disappeared. You had dictation software. And now I spend years saying that I can't sit and type out whole emails. I want to be able to dictate, but I could not find people who are good enough as they were in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Now I have AI run dictation software. I was in Japan the other day and I was talking to people in English and I have immediate translation.
Just imagine it has replaced people.
Correct.
Now what about those stenos?
No, I don't think it will replace people, but it will enhance people as tools. And certainly in the legal profession, it will. And today you have Supreme Court arguments, you have live stream and you have AI transcription. Not the best, but if I want to see some of the arguments that have occurred, I can actually go while the arguments are being done and read the transcript, the AI run transcript and understand, okay, what's been argued, which party took what were the judges, what was the court's response.
I tell you, give one example of one of our arbitration online which was going on. So one of the arbitrators, quite old, because it's an old case. So one arbitrator in between, he passed away, so I was inducted in that 3 members. So other was also, and he was little, hard of hearing. And it was online, so he says that, okay, I have no problem because whatever people are agreed to, so I can read at least. So
no, it's actually a remarkable tool.
Yes, Raj, what's
So I have a light take on it, and then of course I have a serious take on it. The light take is, there is this specter of Harvey looming large over the legal profession. right? But harvi wakalat pe havi nahi hoga.
Good one.
So, like I said, at the end of the day, we've all, as Ameet says, we've seen that there are changes. At times, there are exponential changes. To pick that, your stenographer point, every change results in people becoming displaced or becoming redundant. And I think it's important for all of us today to therefore make it relevant for ourselves to become relevant and stay relevant. So I can't turn around and say, listen, I will not read of a digital software or an iPad because the Honorable Chief Justice made senior advocates leave their papers behind and made them read off. Has it made our life easier? If I had to travel for an arbitration, we'd carry 3 bags. You would pay excess baggage. You'd have to have a bigger car. Now it all carries in one laptop. And that's why I said, when I look at Justice Sikri and his ilk carrying an iPad and working off it seamlessly, right? Democratization, we can sit anywhere in the world. We can do an arbitration which otherwise would have cost us millions. We can have live transcription in multiple languages which enables a seamless conversation that happens between parties. It allows a young lawyer in Kerala to appear in the Supreme Court, right? And therefore makes it easier for his client to have somebody who's worked with him on the ground, speaks his language, and is able to communicate to a judge. So these are the pluses. The minuses are, you have instances of misuse of the platform, right? And somewhere along the way, I think as people who are interested and invested in the process, we all have our own responsibilities. Our jobs are threefold. One is continue to do what you do. Number 2, learn to use what is the latest tool. But like I said, identify the right tool, learn how to use it. Or at the very least, surround yourself with people who know and then trust but verify.
You're talking about yourself.
No, absolutely. So, but like I said, I've also learned, I'm stuck on the SEC key. I don't like the online version.
Okay.
EBC has tried its best to get me to look at the online platform.
And you are their advocate also.
Yes, sir. So it doesn't work for me.
I agree.
It doesn't work for me. And I say that I'm sorry because the product that you've sold there doesn't match the quality of the output here. So I'm a hard taskmaster or a demander in that sense. I'm an outlier. And he tells me why. But that's me. But over the years, I have also learned, I'm trying to work on it. And like I said, we will all face this existential crisis at various points in time. I think it's human tendency. We all learn how to deal with it. The profession will remain, as Justice Sikri says. I think you cannot take the human being out of the legal discourse. He or she is at the end because she's the subject. And at the end of the day, it will be a judge who decides. And we can keep, sending the small numerical numbers to electronic databases, etc., etc. The real decisions ultimately, whether it's criminal law, sentencing, etc., in our lifetime at least, I don't see that being translated into anything else. So yes, work hard, be relevant, stay relevant, and more importantly, I think pick the right tools. That's really where our profession is. And I think we are all fine. This whole business of same thing. We anticipate that if Indian markets open, what would happen? Our economy opened, it's only made a benefit. So as I think the real dangers are the ones that are hidden in those black boxes. I think one must be mindful of those. The rest, I think I'm an eternal optimist in that sense. And I feel that it will only help make life easier for a larger number of people. There will be some pitfalls, but then we've always learned how to deal with those.
Perfect. Thank you so much, all of you. It was a great conversation, and I think we all agree that human in law is indispensable. And we are facilitator, yes, but I think AI will help us in keep on updating ourselves. And great conversations. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.